Bitcoin continues to rally through 2025, and we're going to get in today into what I'm seeing through Bazi Astrology could be our fall, including September. Little late, but here we go. So welcome. My name is Lydia Griffith. This is the Feng Shui and Bazi Chinese Astrology channel. And on this channel, I do like to read different charts outside of human beings, even celebrities, even looking at countries, looking at the engagement of wars between countries, and also something like cryptocurrency, specifically in this video, Bitcoin. So welcome again. If this is of interest to you, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell, and liking the video. So we're going to do a brief recap, but what I'm going to do is give you the links to the two other videos I've covered about Bitcoin, and just giving you the information that I'm working from is the origin date of January 3rd, 2009 at 1815 for time. So when we're looking at Bazi Chinese astrology, we're looking at the four pillars. But when we're looking at forecasting, we want to bring in the two influences. One, of course, being actually three. One being the year influence, which you can kind of think of as the umbrella, right? And then within that umbrella is the month coming in. And the month coming in can be something that lifts things up and improves. It can also be an energy that pulls things down. It can also be something that creates a lot of like instability, changeability. Also taking into account what the current luck cycle is, because we all move through luck cycle periods. For instance, as a business, let's say you have a retail shop or a restaurant and you really have been struggling you look at the Bazi astrology of that business from the day that you opened business and you started your business, which is not necessarily, though this is part of it, it's the day that you formed your LLC, the day that that name became a legal entity, that is its birthday. But then you can add the added layer of what was the day that you opened doors the first time. That's a second layer. You can also look at that from the time that you become engaged to the date that you get married. Okay? Both of those pieces of information are very important to recognize why your business would have a downturn and why you may have volatility. Like one week you've got great business and the next week it's tanking. So if you're interested in that kind of a reading, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to work with you with that. Because there is strategy, always strategy. We aren't victims of our astrology, even if you're looking at a business. No. What we're looking at is the information that tells us how to work with it. And with Bitcoin and investments, of course, we are looking at what is the predictions? What is the forecasting that we're looking at? Because if you know a storm is coming, you may say, I'm going to hold steady because I know it's going to blow over. Or you may say, I'm going to pull some out and invest it somewhere where I know it will grow. Just depends on how you play with this. The four pillars of Bitcoin are Yang, Earth, Rat, Year. Because 2009 in January is not 2009 yet, according to the Chinese calendar. And it's also not only a cusp year, it's also a cusp month, because January 3rd is still the month of December. Most, according to that Chinese calendar, the month can change anywhere from the 5th to the 8th, depending. So again, for the four pillars, Yang, Earth, Rat, Year, the month Yang, Wood, Rat, and then the day yang earth monkey, and the hour of yin metal rooster, rooster being yin metal. So it's a double metal influence. This chart is very cold. It is very cold and wet because there's no fire, right? And so we've talked about the need for fire in this chart in order to polish the metal to make it shine. We've also talked about Bitcoin in relation to the need in a business astrology for competition to motivate it into action, right? So if you've got an ice cream store and somebody opens another ice cream store 2 blocks down, you've got competition and you've got to all of a sudden start to come up with new strategy, right? It's really good for you. Keeps you on your toes. That's what business is all about. Keeping you innovating, changing things up, and looking beyond the day that you are in, forecasting forward. Okay, so let's get into it. Did want to touch base with my last video. In general, because the 2 elements most needed for this chart, because it has no fire, is to boost the fire with wood. This year being a yin wood fire snake is huge benefit. The fact that Bitcoin is currently in a lux cycle as of 2019 of yang fire tiger, tiger being yang wood, is huge help. The fact that the tiger is the enemy of the monkey, which is its day pillar, is also good because that opposition, that challenge is busting it open. And when we have opposition and it busts open, what gets released? Money. What gets released? Itself. It's almost like its own piñata, and it's a lot of movement. This is very good. This whole decade of 2019 to 2029 is really good. I think 2029, things are going to get a little wonky. It's still going to be good. We still have elements. It's just in yin form. It's not going to have the punch that it has right now. But we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. 2029 is a long way away, and a lot is going to happen, especially in the United States, between now and then. So we'll earmark that for another day. Now, when we're looking at the combination of both the year being beneficial, plus the lux cycle being beneficial, this speaks of a decade, 2019 to 2029. Depending on the year has to support that lux cycle. And all of it, including the 4 pillars of this Bazi of Bitcoin, has to work in a way that is going to generate, again, competition and polishing all of this metal so that it shines, so we all make money. Now, when you look at my last video, I was talking about how I was a little worried that June was going to be wonky because of that yang water coming down on the yin fire of that month. And in fact, June, I think it pretty much held steady around 108,000, dipped down to 107, a little kind of like this, but there wasn't a whole lot of up or down. Held steady. This is fine. We like held steady. Then July was interesting because that was yin water sheep. And I was, again, not 100% sure how that was going to go because there's a harm with the sheep, with both the pig. Why was I saying pig? The sheep and the rat is harmed, which harms water. And so it's pulling out that water. It's almost like an added influence of absorbing with that hot earth of the sheep. So it's not entirely surprising that it did jump up. At its height, I think, was 115,000. So that's kind of an interesting marker there. It rallied more than I actually thought it would. And then remember what I said, that August was going to be a course correction. And it did, because again, we went from holding steady in June, we came up in July, and then back to that 108, 107 in August. There was a lot of volatility, a lot of competition. And the thing is, competition, again, can be a good thing, but it can also be so intense that you simply can't keep reinventing yourself in order, or pivoting yourself in order to keep up with all the change. And sometimes you just have to take a step back. For instance, the ice cream shop opened 2 blocks down, and now they are ripping up the street so there's no parking for your customers. And that's going to be for the next 2 weeks. You've got jackhammers, and it's loud as crap, and people can't come in and just sit with their laptops while you're serving coffee and ice cream anymore. Sometimes, and when there's too much stuff happening, it's better to just take a pause. Yeah, so that was what August felt like. It was really volatile. And again, we kind of had that course correction. Where are we now that we're in September? September is a yin wood rooster. It is, again, we've got this competition, not as severe, of yin wood on top of yin metal. It's like cutting at each other. It also doesn't bring us the fire. But if you look at those 2 pillars of the year and the month, that yin wood sitting on top of the snake and the yin wood sitting on top of the rooster, there is this feeling of changeability. Something is, again, more course correcting. There is also that polishing with the metal of the rooster and the snake. There is some polishing going on, but it isn't as big of an influence as could have been if we didn't have all that opposition going on in August, because the monkey is yang metal. But there's still some positivity here. I just don't think that it's going to be as big a thing as what I think is coming in October. I think October could be a really good time for Bitcoin. Because, why? So I would say, hold steady where we are in September. There's also, when you look at the landscape of everything else going on in our collective world, it's a shit show right now. So much feels very volatile and unstable and chaotic that it has a ripple effect all over every aspect, including certainly our investments. We get to October. October is a yang fire dog. Now, the great thing about this is, for the first time this year, we have the stem and the branch in harmony. That fire, yang fire, sitting on top of that yang earth, which is the day master element for Bitcoin. It is huge energy coming in. coupled with that huge yang fire of its current lux cycle, coupled with the yang fire of the snake. It is driving action with Bitcoin. Yeah. So when I was looking at the metal days of September, so follow along with my weekly forecast, the monthly forecasts, daily shorts. Whenever there is a metal day, watch Bitcoin. I'm telling you, I think it's going to really spike on those days. I myself am looking to invest again in this currency, and so I'm going to be watching those days myself. And if you're looking to buy, days that won't be helpful are really those days that are super cold and watery. You can think of days of the pig, days that are a rat, days that are rooster and monkey, right? These are the 4 pillars of Bitcoin. It's too cold and wet to generate any revenue. Those are days to buy, days to sell, or days to see your money grow, or when we have that fire metal combination. That's what I'm looking for. So there's a lot of heat. There's a lot of heat. And I'm liking this. I'm liking October a lot. And I think that we're going to see a big rally. I think it's going to pop back up to where it was in July, if not higher. Be really curious to see in your comments below, because I don't watch the other videos, the other Bitcoin investment videos, purposely to keep my lens, not my glass lens, but my literal internal intuitive lens as clean and unadulterated with all the other noise. Because I think it's too easy to almost let other voices bleed in, if that makes sense. Now, November. November is tricky. It's a yin fire pig, and something big is going on with this month. I personally think that there is going to be a lot of fallout from everything that has happened in the dismantling of the government here in the United States. And I think as this whole thing begins to slide down into probably one of the worst retail Christmases we've seen in a long, long time, I think a lot is going to be coming out as far as just the reality of our situation. You can't not look away from it. It's going to be that obvious. Now, this yin fire is really what feels like kind of lost here. The pig is yang water with yang wood. For Bitcoin, I think the thing that's going to be interesting, the snake and the pig are enemies here. That yang fire up against the yang water of the pig. They also sit opposite each other. One is the beginning of summer and the other is the beginning of winter. One is the start of a day, one is the ending of a day. One sits in the southeast corner of our homes and properties and our offices and workplaces, and one sits in the northwest. They are opposite. That opposition, and again, opposition can be good, but when you have multiple layers, and again, pull back on Bitcoin specifically, that the tiger luck cycle is already in conflict with its monkey day, all right? Then you add this added competition, added conflict, plus the fact that there is all of this water. And the other piece is that the year of the rat, month of the rat for Bitcoin forms with the pig a semi-water trio. It's a cooling down. So I would imagine, this is where I see this. a holding steady in September, rising in October, and a big correction in November. And again, let me know how this lands for you. But as we then move into December with a Yang Earth Rat month, the rat, again, being water, being cold, the Yang Earth being the element that represents Bitcoin sitting on top, feels weird to me. Feels weird. And given whatever goes down in November, it could be kind of one of these things that's almost like we're really looking at the situation. There's a lot of analyzing and figuring out what just happened and where are we going into 2026. So stay tuned for all of that. And I think that what happens in November, that kind of is going to bleed into December with an analytical reanalysis. What's going on is going to be the major flavor of January 2026 when we have a yin earth ox, very cold earth. Okay. And as the year of the snake is shifting out and with yang fire horse coming in, which I think is going to be great for Bitcoin. I think it's going to be a really good year. But these last 3 months, technically, according to the Chinese calendar, I think are going to be kind of rough. So enjoy October. I think we're going to see a big rallying there. And just hold steady with your investments those 3 months that I mentioned, November, December, January. No fear here, friends. I'm fully convinced that cryptocurrency is our future for how we do money. And I think we're going to see this become more and more evident on a global scale as we move through time. Anyway, that's it for today. Again, I welcome your comments, your questions, and let's see how it goes. I'm got my eyes on October. I always like to look towards things that are the most positive. So until next time, please be well.